poisoned with radioactive polonium in a restaurant in London 4 years ago. Moscow has refused to extradite the former Russian agent who Britain accuses of killing Litvinenko. This latest cable records details of a secret meeting between a former CIA bureau chief and an ex-KGB spy, in which Moscow denied involvement in his death. Well, Alex Goldfarb was a friend of Litvinenko and has written extensively about his death. He joins me live now from our studio there in New York. Thanks for being with us. What do you make of this latest claim that Russia was in fact tracking Litvinenko's killers and only stopped doing so when it was warned off by Britain?
I think it was a clumsy effort of spin control by the Russians. It happened 2 weeks after Litvinenko's death, and the implication of this statement that was made by the Russian official to the US official was that it was not a state-sponsored crime and that some non-state actors perpetrated it. Moreover, that the Russians were warning the Brits about that. And this is, nobody believed that even at the time, because another Wikileaks cable at about the same time mentions Deputy Secretary of State Dan Fried saying that he believed that Putin personally was behind this murder. So this is what Russians have been doing all along. They were trying to somehow invent or plant disinformation stories about blaming Chechen separatists, for example, for all kinds of things, and this is one of them, I'm sure.
All right, so you believe that is spin on Russia's side. What about the idea, is there any truth in the idea that perhaps Britain knew that there was going to be an assassination attempt and didn't do enough to stop it? Do you believe there's truth in that?
Well, I think it's pure nonsense. First of all, the statement released on Wikileaks yesterday was not about warning about assassination, but the statement essentially said that the Russians were watching some people involved in transportation of radioactive material and warned the Brits about that without mentioning Litvinenko. So, and as I said, it might be a pure, if it even happened, it might be a pure coincidence, and the Russians, and the whole purpose of this exercise, of this conversation, was to move the blame from the Russian state, which, as we know now, was behind Litvinenko's murder, to some sort of to, let's say, Islamic terrorists.
At the time of Litvinenko's murder, of course, there was a big rift that opened up between London and Moscow. Do you think the fact that there's been the release of this WikiLeaks cable is going to do anything to open up that rift again, or is it something that both countries just want to forget about?
I think that both countries are trying to various extents forget about it, but at the same time it's a criminal investigation of a murder and of a terrorist attack involving nuclear material. So even for legal reasons it cannot be forgotten, and I'm sure that it will continue. And on the other hand, I don't think we can expect the resolution of this case as long as Mr. Putin is in control in Russia, because as everybody believes, and as WikiLeaks confirms that even the United States officials believe, Putin is personally behind this murder. All
right, must leave it there. Alex Goldfarb, appreciate your time. Thank you for joining us there from New York. Well, there have been other fresh revelations from WikiLeaks. Let's return now to Rida in Doha to get more on that. Rida.
Thanks very much, Felicity. The revelations keep coming. WikiLeaks has now published a document showing the US and New Zealand resumed full military and intelligence ties in August last year, but kept it secret. Now, the longtime allies fell out in the 1980s because of New Zealand's anti-nuclear stance. The US Embassy in Wellington sent a cable to Secretary of State Hillary Clinton in January, advising her to keep the agreement private. Another cable highlights US moves to try to persuade New Zealand to reverse its anti-nuclear position.